Welcome back to Tales of Truth, where we tell the truth about veterinary medicine. I'm Dr. Angie, and this is my co-host and veterinary nurse extraordinaire. And today we're going to talk about novel protein diets, which is something your veterinarian may have asked you to try. And I find myself in exam room saying, let's try a novel protein. And I think I'm aware now that most people have no idea what I'm talking about.
Well, I think it often creates an influx in your inbox.
Yes.
Like, is this what you meant? Is this a novel
Yeah.
protein?
Yeah. So we're going to create an episode. If I've told you to try a novel protein, I'm going to give you more insight into what I mean and the different times you might try a novel protein diet or a hydrolyzed protein diet for cats or dogs. So I think we should start with the kitties because
Yeah.
I think you're right. You were saying as we were hitting record that we use novel protein more for cats, but I don't know. I still use it in dogs, but cats with inflammatory bowel disease, suspected inflammatory bowel disease, or symptoms of inflammatory bowel disease like diarrhea and vomiting. One thing we'll often try is a novel protein diet. And novel just means that your cat's likely never seen this protein before or has never eaten this protein for an extended period of time. So I think of novel proteins being like duck, pork, rabbit, kangaroo, venison. What am I missing?
Well, there's now alligator and elk.
Okay. I didn't know there were elk. Who's making elk? I mean, don't tell me, but
I don't know which brand it is, but I saw it recently. Yep.
okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So the idea is that your cat might have a sensitivity to a food and that when we change that protein, that we would decrease symptoms without that because hopefully the new food your cat is not sensitive to. And that often is helpful in cats with inflammatory bowel disease. And so for a lot of people, that means doing a prescription diet, but it can also mean doing an over-the-counter diet. And I think this is where it gets tricky is if I've recommended that you feed your cat a novel protein diet, like what in the world do you do? Where do you go?
Because a cat is typically eating what proteins? Chicken, beef, some type of fish,
Yeah, turkey.
turkey.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
would say
that's
tuna.
probably the big
Yeah.
5, 4.
Yeah. So we're just trying to move away from that. And I think we often use prescription diets because we know those novel prescription diets have had the manufacturing line cleaned before using it. So there's not going to be any cross contamination. Now, it would be interesting, like with other proteins. So let's say that line was also used for chicken and how well did they clean it? Or are there lines specifically used for a venison skew? So I think the advantage of the prescription diets is that we know that the ingredients are going to be just that protein and there's not
I
going to be
had
cross
no
contamination.
idea. That's new to me. So it's
Really?
like when you go and order something, if you're gluten-free, and there's a difference between the food might be gluten-free versus the whole kitchen.
Yes.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you're saying that prescription foods are beneficial because the entire manufacturing process is clear of that
Yes.
contaminant. That's
Yeah.
pretty
Of
cool. I
like
did not know that.
any other contaminants. Yeah. So we like to tout them as better, but they are more expensive. And I don't know that all cats require that. The other problem with non-prescription diets is that pet food companies can do what's called label floating, where
Huh?
they change the ingredient but don't change the label. And so they have X number of days to change the label after they change the ingredients. And so if you get an over-the-counter food, it might not say exactly what's in it. Like so the ingredients that are in the kibble, the canned whatever might not be what's actually
It's
in there.
terrible.
Yeah.
I thought you were speaking just another area to be careful of. For example, I had one this week where she went to go buy rabbit, and I'm not throwing this brand under the bus, but she went to go buy I Love a New Rabbit, and she
Uh-huh.
happened to read the ingredient, and the second ingredient is beef broth and then beef liver. So it's
Yeah,
not a pure rabbit. So you have to read the ingredient list. But now I hear you saying
exactly.
you may not even be able to trust the ingredient list that's there.
Yeah, I don't think that's like happening the majority of the time. But when your cat is having symptoms, whether they're having skin allergies or they're having vomiting or diarrhea, like you kind of want to get it right the first time whenever possible. And so know that that's a possibility. Now, the downside to using a prescription diet, like let's say that works, you're using that for a while and that stuff's expensive. And so if you feel like that's not really something I can afford, I think using a limited ingredient over the counter is fine, knowing that if you opened up a new batch of canned or kibble or whatever you're feeding and things there your cat begins to have symptoms, that is a possibility.
I will say it is a possibility. I don't know why. With certain prescription brands too, we have seen this from bag to bag, sometimes with pets. And once they order another bag from the same company, their pet's back to being
Yeah.
solid. So if you've been on a prescription food for a long time and suddenly your cat or dog is having loose stools again, call the manufacturer and request a bag.
Have we
Sometimes
seen
it
that
is.
with prescription diets?
Just recently.
Can we say which one?
I don't know. Do you want me to?
Yeah, I do. Oh
Specifically Ultamino.
my God, it's one of my favorite diets.
I know. But as soon as they got a new bag, as they had ordered it from Chewy, and I just recommended that they call Royal Canin and find out if it was the bag. And sure enough, switched and right back to solid stools.
Interesting. Okay, so there was a contaminant. There was some, even it might not have been a dangerous contaminant, but it caused symptoms for this dog. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, so that's any food. So if you have a kitty and I say, let's do a novel protein diet, you have all of your kind of prescription novel protein diets. And I usually use Royal Canin, and not because I have any allegiance to that brand, but it seems like they have the most palatable ones. Although maybe once I'm in the rut of Royal Canin, maybe the palatability of the other, Hills and Purina and Blue and all the other prescription diets, maybe it's just as good. But I just always go to Royal Canin. So you could do that. And then you could do a canned or a kibble. Obviously, I'm always going to be a proponent of canned and not kibble. It's probably a different episode. Maybe
Huh.
we'll figure out how to link it in the show notes. Why I don't love kibble for cats. But you could do an over the counter novel protein. And they do make them. I think Avengers makes some.
Ziwi does, I think.
Okay, that doesn't have chicken, because sometimes they'll be like, oh, this is venison. But like you said with that I in Love and You skew, it has venison and then the next thing is chicken, or there's some other protein. And so
I don't know. I don't think that, I think I recently looked at their venison.
okay,
And
and it's just
it was
venison.
according to the label. And another thing that people can do, again, I know this is privilege of living in big city, so it may not, but if you have boutique pet stores, those people can be so knowledgeable. So you can go in and ask for a novel protein and ask them what's in it. They'll probably have options for you.
Yep. Yeah, read the ingredients. And then you can always do novel proteins in raw diets too. Like for kitties, I'll often do like the Stella and Chewy's pork or Stella and Chewy's rabbit. And I think Instinct has some too
And
that are,
Viva Pet,
yeah, Viva Raw.
yeah, they'll come out with it'll be a limited time that they have them though, so your pet can't be on it long term.
I
That's the
hate
problem.
that. I
Yeah.
know, because then that creates so much insecurity. But I mean, I like the brand, and that when you want something that you can rely on.
And just from a touting from another episode that we did, I don't remember the name of the episode now because we're 45 episodes in or close to 50, but Viva Raw now they are advertising their HPP process.
Oh, good. I'm so
Yeah.
happy for them. Yeah, they had a rough go using some other kill steps. And so, yeah, that's good. Okay, that makes me really happy for them. They're a really cool company because they have completely balanced food. And last time I checked, and which was a while ago, without the use of synthetic vitamins and minerals, and that might have changed. And if they are using synthetic vitamins and minerals, I still recommend them. But they're a really cool company with a great story, and they definitely really care. So, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we've
It's
got
hard for me to separate out cat and dog in this conversation. I
should we
don't
move
know.
over to dog? Because I think we did
Well, I don't
cats.
know. Because so for cats, let's maybe finish out on what they would be using it for. And how do
Okay,
they know when they need to switch novel proteins, or can they have a variety? Because a lot of cats like variety.
right.
So,
No, they
so
can't.
what are they trying? I mean, if something's working for your cat, if you stop your cat's diarrhea, I think you're probably pretty inclined to just stay with what you're doing.
Yes, unless your cat goes on strike, and then you have to. Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. You might have to have a couple novel proteins, but overall, I think that once cats feel better on a food, they tend to be happy on it. So you're feeding these novel proteins if your cat's itchy, if your cat's like over grooming, sometimes they're just really allergic. Cats that have ear infections or scratching their face a lot. So the scabby faced cat's chin acne might be a reason to do it. And then vomiting and diarrhea would be the main reasons because we suspect inflammatory bowel disease. And cats just don't do as well on hydrolyzed proteins. And we'll talk about hydrolyzed proteins with dogs. Yeah, with inflammatory bowel disease.
Okay. And so
Yeah.
when you're telling a cat parent to get a novel protein, you're not necessarily caring which protein, just
No.
something different that your cat has not been eating or been introduced to.
Yes. And they have to like it. Some people will be like, oh, I got this rabbit, but my cat hates it. What do I do? And you're just like, well, you have to get a different food. You
Yeah. And
can't.
sometimes it's not the rabbit they hate, it's the texture of the food.
There's
So
so
you're
many
also
things they
talking
could hate.
texture.
Or temperature.
Oh, yeah, or temperature. I love cats for this.
Or location or anything.
It's time of day,
Time of day.
food.
Yes, totally. Yes. Okay. So dogs. So when I tell dogs to be on a novel protein, it's often for the same reasons, like intestinal disease, itchiness, like itchy allergic dogs. We'll switch over. Sometimes it's also about just like eliminating with dogs, eliminating their allergen. So maybe they're allergic to chicken. So let's say they're eating chicken. I'll be like, let's do anything but chicken. And so I don't necessarily care what they are going to feed. It just needs to not have chicken in it. So it can have 10 other proteins in it, but it just can't have chicken. So that's one way to do it. But then another way to do it is to say, okay, I'm just only going to feed my dog pork or rabbit or, something like that. And that's the only protein source they're getting. And for cats and dogs, remember, if you're doing a novel protein diet trial, we're trying to do it for like 6 to 8 weeks, and you can't feed any other protein. So if you are feeding your dog like pig ears or something and we're on a rabbit diet, like you can't do that. You can't feed any of another animal. So, which is kind of a bummer because food is love and it's a rough trial.
But we start with protein. Do we start with protein because that tends to be the biggest trigger?
Yes, it tends to be the biggest trigger, but it's not the only trigger. It can
For
be
sure not.
any grain, any vegetable, any fruit, which is kind of overwhelming when you think about it. But don't think about it. Just try the nut.
I think I just went into overwhelm. I was just like going through an ingredient deck in
Yeah,
my
don't worry about
head.
it.
I think I totally zoned out there for a moment thinking about it.
Let me
It's
worry
a
about that.
lot. I'm so amazed when people do diet trials ingredient by ingredient.
I know. And this is why in dogs I just use Ultamino. Because Ultamino is completely broken down into amino acids. And so this is where we get into hydrolyzed. We're either doing a novel protein for dogs or we're doing hydrolyzed, which means they take the protein and they chop it up into smaller groups of amino acids. And then Ultamino is broken up into individual amino acids. So it's almost impossible to be allergic to it.
Yeah. And that's always confusing for people because the ingredient is chicken. So if you're trying to
Right.
cut out chicken,
Yep.
they're like, what are you doing, Dr. Angie? Like,
Yeah, if I
yeah.
prescribe Ultamino to you, just please don't read the ingredient deck. Just trust me. If I'm working for you, you're probably holistically inclined and you're looking at this thinking, "Oh my God, I need to fire this woman." Don't fire me. Just feed the food and then we'll figure it out. Do we have a whole episode on Ultamino? Or is that in
We
our itchy
we
dog?
do. I don't know where it is. I'm so sorry, you guys. Once we do so many episodes
I know.
and we
We'll try to
talk to patients, and I'm like, did we talk to a patient about that or did we record that?
I know.
It's hard to know.
Because I
But
say
I'll
the
link
same
them.
things over and
I
over.
will link them. I will know when I go to edit
Okay.
this. So
Okay.
I'll link any diet related episodes for dogs and cats in the show
Okay.
notes.
Okay. Because we're talking about novel protein, but it's hard to talk about novel protein without talking about hydrolyzed protein.
Huh.
That's difficult because basically this episode just turned into a diet trial. And so what does that mean? And so for your dog, it just means that either you're just avoiding, like if you've been feeding beef, you're avoiding beef. And if that doesn't work, then you're trying a specific protein. And that's called like a single ingredient. And then if that doesn't work, then you do a novel protein that you think your dog hasn't seen before. In cats, we get to that novel protein diet a little bit faster. In dogs, I feel like we have more wiggle room. So I guess they are pretty different of how
They
we
are.
do.
And I'm thinking, when I think about the cat list of proteins that are accessible to cat parents, it seems longer than the ones available to dogs. Because dogs do they have the same access to kangaroo and alligator? And I guess I just don't remember a time when we've offered that.
I don't know. I've never had a dog on kangaroo. That's got to
Right.
be
But
so
we've had cat.
expensive. Well, I wonder if it's because cats are 10 pounds. And so it's more accessible to feed kangaroo. Like, can you imagine
I wonder.
feeding kangaroo to a dog?
Such a weird thing. Uh, and when I think of kangaroo and alligator, just total off the wall. Those are very muscular animals.
Yeah, I guess they are. It's got
Aren't
to be
these
really lean. That
muscle
can't taste
meat?
good.
No. That's
Yeah.
what I also thought that. Those look like bland animals.
You're like, that is not tasty.
Yeah. I don't know. That's interesting because I just think of we go to Ultamino more often for dogs.
Yeah, because the thing is, once I tell you, like, okay, we need to do a diet trial, the fastest thing you could do is Ultimino if you have a dog. But it's also reasonable to just avoid the protein you're starting out with. Because Ultimino, one, is expensive and two, is high maintenance. And so if we just have like a minor problem, I think, and you're like, oh, I'm feeding a chicken-based formula, avoiding chicken is a really economical and easy thing to do. By the time I'm getting to Ultimino, I'm just trying to figure out if there are food allergies because usually my patient's itchy. This is a made up statistic, but I would say like 90% of the time I use Ultimino, it's because I have an itchy allergic dog, and 10% is because they have digestive problems.
And I would say on the cat side, it's the exact opposite.
Exact opposite. I'm hardly ever like I see some cat dermatology problems, but it's not as much as I see them
Yeah, it
vomiting.
seems more gut.
Yeah, they're puking.
Interesting. Which
Yeah,
is why the science needs to catch up for cats, which we are, because they're not
yeah.
dogs.
I know. Poor kitties.
Yeah. Different
Poor
species.
kitties.
It's
And you
like
know
men and
what?
women,
It's like
right?
exactly. All the studies were done on dogs, or we don't have any studies in veterinary medicine. We're like, I hope this translates, and it usually does.
Right. It's all real world experience.
But I have to use this moment. This is a little plug for Cerenia, which is anti-nausea. It says on the box, it's USDA, or not USDA. That's the wrong governing body. FDA approved for dogs, but it's also okay for cats. I just want to
Absolutely. Yep.
public service announcement. You can use Cerenia for cats despite what it says on the box. Just don't look at the box. Don't look at it. I promise.
That
Help your
should be.
nauseous cat.
Yeah. All the studies we've done for dogs and not cats. So we're catching up in the feline world.
But what
So
if we're
maybe it's
not?
exciting that they have more protein options in dogs to win in the cat box.
I know. In the cat box. Did you mean to
I didn't, but it totally works. that could be a slogan
that
for a
could
cat
be
food company. There
Oh
you
my
go.
gosh.
You're
It's
welcome.
yours. Take it. Okay. Well, that's my spiel on novel protein diets. But if you want me to help you and your pet specifically, you can go to boulderholisticvet.com. You can go to book a consult and you can reserve time on my calendar. We can go over your dog or cat's medical records. I can give you my opinion about what you should be feeding, what diets to try next. We'll collect records from your veterinarian, or you can collect records from your veterinarian, and I'll go over it. And then we'll meet via Zoom. It's all recorded and I can help you out.
That's good. And also, you can look in the show notes for other episodes that relate to this to take a deeper dive into whether you want to look at cat diet or dog diet.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good. See you
Bye
next
bye.
time. Bye.